Well, hey everybody, Mr. Reeves back with you, and in this video we're going to look at solving two-step equations. So right here I've got just a little diagram that tells us about solving two-step equations. So step one, you want to add or subtract to isolate the variable term. So if we looked at this equation, 3x plus 5 equals negative 16. The variable term is 3x and the constant term is 5. So in this case, we're going to subtract because in the equation it was added. If it was subtracted in the equation, we would add. Remember, we use inverse operations. So first you add or subtract to isolate the variable term to get that variable term by itself. Then you're going to multiply or divide to solve for the variable. So in this case we had 3 times x is negative 21. So we would divide by 3. If instead this had been x divided by 3, we would have multiplied. Remember, when you're solving an equation, you are using inverse operations or the opposite operations, and you're working in the opposite order of operations. If I were to give you this expression 3x plus 5 and ask you to use order of operations, first you would multiply 3 by x and then you would add 5. So in solving the equation, we work backwards. We do just the opposite. It's the opposite operations in the opposite order, okay? The opposite operations or the inverse operations in the opposite order you would do them. All right, so let's go ahead then and just use that to solve some equations. By the way, real quick here, we're back with some algebra tiles. These longer yellow bars represent n's, and there are 3 of them, and they are positive, right? If they were red, they would be negative. And then we have 2 1s here being added. So this box right here represents the expression 3n plus 2. And right here we've got 3, 6, 9, 11 positives. So these two boxes together model this equation. And then you can see that they took away 2 of the positives from each side, right? What they did here, I'll go ahead and write it, was here we go. They subtracted 2 away, right? So right here, this step, we have 3n plus 2 equals 11. So this step right here represents subtracting 2 from each side, right? We subtract 2. And when we're done, what does that leave us with? That leaves us with 3n is equal to, well, 11 minus 2 is 9, right? And then what did they do? They divided it into 3 groups. They divided each side by 3, right? They divided by 3. And when they were done, are we going to get down there? All right, when we're done, the answer that we get is n is equal to 3, right? So we started with the equation 3n plus 2 equals 11. We're doing the opposite operations in the opposite order. Again, going forwards, we would do 3 times n plus 2 is 11. We would multiply and then add. So what did we do? We subtracted and then we divided. The opposite operations in the opposite order. Okay, so let's now go ahead and take a look at these ones right here. So I'm going to do this first problem right here. 2x plus 5 is equal to 11. Very similar to the one we just did. First thing I'm going to do is subtract 5, right? Because 5 was added, so I'm going to subtract that away. Whatever we do it to both sides because of those properties of equality, right? So the property of subtraction property of equality says if you subtract the same thing from both sides, the equation will stay true. By the way, it will also not change the solution. So I subtracted 5. Now I'm going to divide by 2 because I've got 2 times x. So the inverse of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. And then I get x is equal to 3. By the way, it's always a great idea to check your answer. 2 times 3 plus 5 is supposed to equal 11, right? Does it? Well, 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 5 is 11. 11 equals 11. It checks. So you'll notice 3 made our original equation true, and after we did all those steps, 3 was still making it true. So we use the properties of equality, in this case the subtraction property of equality and the division property of equality, to get the variable by itself. It's called isolating the variable. All right, what about number 2 over here? 3n take away 1 is equal to 8. All right, so what am I going to do first here? I'm going to add 1 because, right, if I was going forwards, it would be times 3 minus 1. So going backwards, it's going to be plus 1 divided by 3. So when I do that, these are going to cancel, and I get 3n is equal to 9. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to divide by 3 because I'm using the opposite or inverse operations. And when I do that, I get n is equal to 3. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and check it. 3 times 3 minus 1 is supposed to equal 8. Does it? Well, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. 8 equals 8. It checks. All right. All right, we'll do one more. I'm going to do number 4 here. Negative 4y plus 2 is equal to negative 2. Negative 4y plus 2 is equal to negative 2. Again, if I were going forwards, I would multiply by negative 4 and then add 2. But I'm going backwards, so I'm going to subtract 2 and divide by negative 4, because our goal is to find that value of the variable that makes the equation true. So here we go. I'm going to subtract 2 from each side. Now be careful. Negative 2 minus 2 is not 0. Negative 2 take away 2 is negative 4, right? Just a quick reminder, we got to be careful. Negative 2 minus 2 is the same as negative 2 plus negative 2, which is negative 4. It would be negative 2 plus 2 that would equal 0. Why did I say that? Because I just see that a lot where students make that equal 0. All right, this is negative 4 times y. So what am I going to do? I'm going to divide by negative 4, and when I do that, I get y is equal to 1. Not sure why I circled that one, but I did. Here we go. Negative 4 times 1 plus 2 equals negative 2. Let's see if it actually checks. Well, negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 2 gives me negative 2 equals negative 2. It checks. All right. So once again, when you are solving a two-step equation, first thing you're going to do is add or subtract. Remember the opposite. So if the equation has subtraction, you add. If the equation has addition, you subtract. All right. Then you're going to multiply or divide. Same thing. If the equation has multiplication, you divide. If the equation has division, you multiply. And then it's always a good idea when you're done to check your answer. Like here, they got x as negative 7. They put that negative 7 back into the original equation. 3 times negative 7, they didn't show it, but 3 times negative 7 would be negative 21. And negative 21 plus 5 does indeed equal negative 16. It checks. All right, so I think solving two-step equations is probably something that most of you have seen before and probably aren't going to have too much trouble with. All right, sure hope this video helped. If not, you can always ask for more questions. All right, have a great day, everybody. See you next time. Bye.